Welcome to this tutorial on how to create a basic Texas Hold'em shuffler. A little about myself, I'm brand new to the programming world and I picked Python as my first language. I'm pretty serious about learning the language. I'm by no means a Python connoisseur. I'm pretty sure there might be a better way to do this. And if there is, I'm open to learning a better way. So if there's a simpler or better way to do something, please comment below. I love constructive criticism, especially since I've only been learning this language for about 6 weeks now or so. I created this channel to better myself with Python and track my progress as I go along. So if you do have something that is better, comment below. Feel free to use this and modify it. I will be making a whole bunch of videos on this. I don't know how many yet. Um, basically, the reason why I got to this is I think every beginner programmer, they try to figure out things that they're actually they can actually do that's very simple. And so I was messing around with the random library when I was like, okay, well, if I can pull random integers from a specific range, I should be able to pull random items from a list. So I love online poker. Haven't played in years because Poker Stars and Full Tilt, they actually got kind of seized by the FBI, and then the FBI gave it back to them, and then they cut off United States players, basically a political war. But I'm a math guy and I love math as well and statistics. So I got there. I was like, okay, well, I should be able to create a program and then basically run it like a million times. Like distributing cards out a million times and see how many times um, you go without getting aces from one hand to the next. There's a little thing called variance. So you might be running bad, and so I ran it a few million times and things like that, and I come up with some interesting statistics, like your odds of getting a pocket pair, any specific pocket pair, are like 1 out of 100 and 220 or so times. And so I wanted to see how long you could go over a large sample size of not receiving that specific, like set of error, like a pair of aces or something. So what I did was I ran it like a million times, and I found out that a million times is not even enough, because when you look at and you break it down like twos, threes, fours, fives, and you look at every single one of them, they all should be relatively the same, close to the same, and that number should get really close as the larger sample size you go. So, like for instance, I looked at aces, and I might go 3,000 hands without actually receiving aces, and then sometimes I go back to back, back to back aces. It's very rare for that, but they were in, it happened a few times throughout the million hands. And but what I noticed was twos and like threes or just any other number, and I compared them, and they're totally different. So you might go over a million hands 1,200 times without receiving deuces, compared to like aces where it was like 3,000 or whatever. So like I said, a million hands is really not enough. So I did it like 12 million, and that number grew closer together as the bigger the sample size grew, the bigger the sample size. So I'm not going to get into that in this first tutorial. Basically, I want to get into just how to actually distribute out 6 cards, or 2 cards to like 6 players, or if you had 7 players, just basically random cards. So first, we're going to import. Sorry, caps lock. Import the random library, because and this generally comes standard with any Python. Um, so then I'm not going to. I'm going to paste this because it takes a long time to actually do. I mean, so basically this is my deck of cards, and has every card in there of every suit. So basically this is a list of every single card, and see if I wanted to check to see if how many cards or how many items are in my list, I could print the length. As you can see, I think I have it already down here at the bottom, but print the length of the deck. So basically this is going to print the length of the deck, how many items are in the list. And so if I run it, as you can see, it's 52. So if I wanted to basically print every card, then I could create a for loop and say for card. This can be anything. You can name it anything. For X in deck print, and then I want print the card. So what this is going to do is it's going to print every single item that's actually in the list. In this case, these are cards. So you can also check to see if you have the same card twice. I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to go on with the next lesson or the next part of the syntax. So what we want to do is we want to ask the user how many players are playing the game. So an easy way to do this is you create a variable and you call it like num of players, and then you ask for an input. So you pull up input, and then you type in how many players are playing. And it's something simple, just asking a question. So this is a string. So what we're going to do, since it's basically an integer we're asking for, is we have to convert our. Oh, I see an error there. So we have to convert our string to an integer. So what we're going to do is num of players equals int for integer, and then num of players. Since it's already recognized as a string, we're going to convert that string to an integer. All right. Next, we're going to create a list to actually store the name of each player, and so we don't know the name, how many is going to be in there. So what we're going to do is create a total players list, and we're going to actually leave it blank. Later on, players will get stored into there. And so now we need another list that's cards dealt, because what this is going to do is going to put the cards that are dealt out to each player into this, and then we're going to check to see if that card has been dealt out to another player. If that card has been dealt out to another player, then we're going to pick another card from the deck. We're not going to give the same player the same card, because that's not going to happen in a regular game of Texas Hold'em unless somebody's cheating. So now that we got our list created, we're going to go down and we're going to create a for loop that runs through the players. So for x in the range, and we're going to call up range, and we want the range to be how many ever players that are actually playing. So we don't know the number of players that are playing, but we did create a variable for the numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in number of players. We're going to add a semicolon there to finish that, and then next we're going to actually define x even further. So x equals string, because we want it to be a string, and we wanted to name each player to start off with player. So now we don't want to have every player the same, player, 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 player. We want to actually add a number to the player, like player 1, player 2, player 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to add string of x plus 1. So every time it's going to add 1. So every time it runs through the for loop. So player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5, player 6, etc. So next, we need to go ahead and add that player to the total players list. So we're going to put total players, and then how you add it is append, .append. So then what do we want to append? We want to append x. Every single time it's going to create a new player. So next we're going to go down and we're going to put in another for loop. So this one is for player in total players. We're going to give them a card. So we're going to name the variable card1 equals, and then we're going to call up, remember up here we put in the random library, so now we want to call up the random library. So we go random, and if you were creating a random number generator, you would use rand int. What we're going to do is, as you can see, rand int is down there. We want choice, so it's going to pull a string item from the list. So we got choice, and so what is our list? Our list is the deck. So it's pulling a random card from the deck and assigning it to the variable of card 1. So we have two cards that we want to actually deal out, so we're going to put card 2, and it's basically the same thing. So card 2 is equal to this. So next, what we want to do is we want to, hold on, my computer froze up here. So next we want to create a while loop in that for loop. So while card 1 is in cards dealt, so basically it checks to see if the card is in actual cards dealt, and if it is, then we're going to pull another card. So card 1 equals random choice. Again, you basically can go up here and basically copy this and put it down here. So basically, if that card is actually in the list of cards, we don't want that, so we're going to pull another card. So else, if that card is not in the list, we want to cards dealt, we want to pin that card to cards dealt. So we go to the pin and we put card, or I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, card 1. So we want to put card 1 into cards dealt. So now we go down and we want to create another while loop. And there might be a better way to do this, and if there is, can somebody please comment below, because it's I didn't look it up, and I'm sure there's another way to do it to create to where you actually it checks to see if both cards are in there without creating 2 while loops. I'm not sure how to do that. Like I said, I'm a noob myself, so I'm just creating another while loop. So what I want to do is I want to wild card 2, and basically I'm not even going to type this out. I'm going to backspace this, and I'm just going to copy the next one up here, and because I'm a lazy coder, and I'm going to put it here. So, and then I'm going to change all the card 1 info to actually card 2. So card 1 or card 2, and then card 2. So that's pretty much it. So now everything is good. It's going to do it. So now what we need to do is every time it runs through that, we need to print out the players and the actual cards that the player's been dealt. So now we call back up our player variable, and then we put plus, we want to separate it by a comma, so we put the comma, or the comma there, and then we put plus card 1 and plus card 2. And it's as simple as that. And you could do a lot of stuff and where you can go back up here. Actually, let's go ahead and run this and see if this actually works. So how many players are playing? Let's say we want 6 players. As you can see, player 1, King of Clubs, 8 of Hearts. Players 2, 8 of Hearts, 3 of Diamonds. Player 3, King of Hearts, Ace of Spades. Player 4, 3 of Spades, Jack of Diamonds. Player 5, Ace of Clubs, 4 of Spades. Player 6, 9 of Clubs, 4 of Hearts, and etc., etc. Now, what you can also do is, which I'll be doing in a later tutorial on this, is do you see how the lower cards are sometimes higher than the higher cards, or they're the first one assigned? So we can actually go in and we can actually change that to where we can assign a value to each specific card, and then if card 1 is greater than card 2, put it in to card 1 goes first and vice versa. I'm not going to do that in this one. That's a later tutorial, but that's the basics. And see, none of the cards are actually the same. They all actually been checked to see if they were actually the same. There's also stuff that you can do up here as well to actually, like, how many players are playing. We know in Hold'em, there's only 52 cards. So max that you can put in is 26 players, and that's going to distribute out all the cards. So after 26, if you was to put 26 in there, it's not going to work. And later on, you can only play with 10 players. 10 players is generally the max that you can play. So you can go in and you can create the input to where it rekeys it up to where it asks them how many players want to play, and if you pick 11, it won't let you pick 11. I'm not going to add that in to this one. You can kind of figure that out yourself. I just wanted to create a very basic card shuffler that distributes out 6 cards cards to how many ever players that are actually playing the game. In this case, it would be 2 since we're playing Texas Hold'em. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. In my next tutorial, I'll go in and we'll do some different things, and then later on we'll get into statistics and taking, running it through like a million times and printing it out to, a file, and then going through and being able to sift through the data, or things like that. Or you can do a lot of stuff statistics with Python, and that's the reason, one of the reasons why I picked the language. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if there's a better way to do this while loop instead of having two while loops here, please comment below and tell me. I would really like to know. I appreciate it, and thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.